According to the establishment media, anybody who criticizes the New World Order is a kook, a conspiracy nut, and somebody to be dismissed. But is that really true? Let's take a look. This is Beyond the Cover with your host, Gary Benoit. And today we have with us John F. McManus, longtime president, now president emeritus of the John Birch Society, as well as former publisher of the New American Magazine, and also the author of Imposing the New World Order, the cover story in the newest issue of the New American Magazine, the August 15 issue. Jack, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Nice to be with you, Gary.
Oh, thank you. Now, Jack, why is it that when somebody like yourself criticizes the New World Order, you are deemed by the national media a conspiracy nut, while at the same time, others praise the New World Order and talk about how they want to bring about a New World Order? They use that exact terminology, and they're considered respectable.
Well, years ago, the John Birch Society published a manuscript written by James Lucier about the early days of the conspiracy we're talking about here. And one great line that he wrote in that at the beginning of it, it was, the first job of a conspiracy is to convince the world that it doesn't exist. And they have done a very good job of that, even while discussing the matter, to put it down that it does exist. I think that any competent historian who looks into the current and recent history of our country and where we're going and what has happened over the last couple of 100 years would have to decide that, yes, there is a conspiracy and it's very active and it's getting very near its goal to build a new world order.
Now, one of the impressive parts of your article, Jack, is you have almost 2 pages of selected quotes from various globalists who use the terminology New World Order, and they tell us that this is exactly what they're working toward. What do they mean by a New World Order?
Oh, they mean by a New World Order something that's benevolent, something that people would like, because you've got Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum telling the world, what we're going to do is we're going to take away your freedom. We're going to regiment you. We're going to lower the population of the earth to 1 billion people rather than the current 8, and so on. And he says, and you'll love it. You'll love it.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So, yes, there is a conspiracy, and yes, it's working toward its goal. And unfortunately, it's within reach of the monsters that are behind the whole thing.
Right. Well, this conspiracy is becoming more and more out in the open as it gets closer to its ultimate objective of socialist, communist world government. But this conspiracy has been around for a long time. Jack, could you take a moment and go back to the origin of that conspiracy?
Well, it started in 1776. Incidentally, of course, that's the year that our country was separating from England. We did that on the 4th of July, but May 1st of 1776 is when the Illuminati conspiracy in Bavaria was begun by a man named Adam Weishaupt. Mm-hmm. And his symbology, his terminology is on the back of the dollar bill. It's part of the Great Seal of the United States. And there are hardly any Americans who know that, and it's time that they do know it. They're pretty much rubbing our noses in it and not letting the American people know what's really going on. Because the first job of a conspiracy is to convince the world that it doesn't exist. They've done a good job of that, but it does exist.
And what was Adam Weishaupt trying to accomplish by establishing the Order of the Illuminati? And you said 1776. I mean, that's just before the French Revolution. What part did the Illuminati play in that?
The Illuminati was behind the French Revolution. The French Revolution started with a march on the Bastille in Paris, and there were supposedly all kinds of dungeons in this place with people hanging on chains and so on. But the mob finally found 7 people involved, and none of them were real large criminals. Mm-hmm. They had nothing to do with what became the French Revolution. But it was started, unfortunately, by the Illuminati's agents, and they built it into a murderous rampage that took care of France, and France has never really recovered from the French Revolution of 1789.
Right. You know what's interesting, Jack, is when you look at the American Revolution, which more properly could be defined as an American war for independence.
Correct.
And you compare and contrast that with the French Revolution, you see more contrast, I would say, than comparison, because in the case of what happened in America, we had people who were fighting for their rights. They were fighting for a restoration of the rights, and based on the principle that rights come from government, and that the purpose of government is to protect those God-given rights. But when you look at the French Revolution, that wasn't the case at all. Would you say that the French Revolution, in a sense, was maybe a precursor to the Communist Revolution that occurred in 1917 in Russia?
Absolutely. In fact, Weishaupt started his conspiracy on May 1st, 1776, which is why communists and socialists have always celebrated May 1st as their holiday.
Right.
You ask some of the people who are part of the socialist movement or even the communist movement, if they realize that, they don't. But that's why it was May 1st. Weishaupt was a hero to these people, and if you're really deeply into the conspiracy, you would know that. But there aren't that many who are. But there is a conspiracy, and it continues to work. When people talk about the New World Order, they're using a slogan and a phrase that appears in the Great Seal of the United States, which was manufactured in 1782 by a man named Thompson, who was at that time the Secretary of the Congress of the government of the United States under the Articles of Confederation.
Right.
That office has been done away with. We don't have that office anymore. But Thompson is the man who decided not only what it would be, but the fact that it would have 2 sides. There's a front and a back to the Great Seal of the United States, which is very unusual. Great Seal of any nation is usually just the one front face. But the Great Seal of the United States has a front and a back.
Well, you did mention that the Illuminati, after it was founded, brought about the upheaval, all the bloodshed of the French Revolution. But was the work of the Illuminati confined to Europe, confined specifically to France? That is to say, has its influence been felt elsewhere? How about in the early United States, for instance? Were there agents of the Illuminati here?
Absolutely. And finally, in 1798, a book came out by John Robeson, a professor in England, about the Illuminati.
Right. Now, he was a contemporary.
Yeah, and he had great knowledge of the operation of the conspiracy all throughout Europe. And he called his book Proofs of a Conspiracy, right? John Robeson's book was given to George Washington after George Washington left the office of president in 1787.
Right.
And he wrote to the preacher who gave him the book, who sent the book to him, and thanked him for it, and explained that his knowledge and awareness of the conspiracy was very real, and he thanked him for more evidence to prove what he had already discovered.
Right. Now, the Illuminati is a result of the light of exposure being shined upon it by people such as Robeson went underground. But it never really disappeared completely. In other words, it continued to function, but just not in the public eye. So could you trace what the Illuminati started and what Weishaupt started up to the present day? Why is this important to modern day Americans?
Because we're going through what the Illuminati sought, which was control of mankind, lowering the population, having everybody subservient to government. And when Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum says we're going to do away with private property and you'll love it, you got to shake your head and you say, wait, where did this man come from?
Obviously, when he said that, he was not referring to his own property.
No, that's a very good point. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
So,
because the people in this conspiracy, they're not against their wealth, and they're not against themselves possessing power, but they don't want other people to have anything, and they want to control them completely.
That's right. And the seal of the United States, the Great Seal of the United States, the reverse side of it, which is the back, is prominently displayed on the $1 bill.
Right.
Now, how did that come about? That came about in 1935 when Franklin Roosevelt, President of the United States, persuaded Henry Wallace, Secretary of the Treasury, to put the Great Seal on the dollar bill.
Right. Now, in your cover story article, of course, as you know, we did not have space for that part of the story, in part because it was a cover story, not a history article. We did have some information about the Illuminati, but you, of course, are planning to write a follow-up article that we will publish in the history section of the magazine having to do with the Great Seal.
That's right.
So we're certainly looking forward to that, Jack.
I've got most of the research done on that.
Pardon?
I've got most of the research done on that.
Oh, that's great. Well, you've been doing that for many years. Of course, you've written a number of books, and you've been studying this conspiracy against God and man. And that's really what it is, a conspiracy against God and a conspiracy against man. You've been studying it since the 1960s, I would say.
That's right.
Not that I want to reveal your age.
I joined the Birch Society in 1964. And all of a sudden, I was approached by a man who became a good friend, who was a member of the staff of the Birch Society at the time, asking me if I would accept a position on the staff of the Birch Society. I was an electronics engineer at the time, and I said to myself, well, if I want freedom for myself and my kids, I got to do something here. Okay, what do I do as a member of the staff of the Birch Society? Well, I started out as a coordinator, and then I became an in-house staff member at the Belmont, Massachusetts headquarters.
Right.
Helped to move the society to Appleton, Wisconsin, where it is now. And then semi-retirement 5 years ago, and here I am still writing and still doing some work trying to wake the town and tell the people.
Exactly. And we really appreciate it, Jack, because your involvement on the staff since 1966 until your recent period of semi-retirement, without everything you've done, it's hard to believe how much worse things could be today. And in fact, I believe, and I know you believe as well, Jack, without the John Birch Society, and the John Birch Society, of course, is the parent organization of the New American Magazine. But without the Birch Society, I don't think we'd be living in freedom today. And because of what you and others have done over so many years, we still have the opportunity to use our freedoms to save our freedoms.
Well, that's right. I think Robert Welch was quoted one time as saying when he started the society in 1958, he thought the odds about winning and saving our freedom were about 100 to 1, but we got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
My own assessment, because Robert Welch passed away in 1985, but my own assessment is that odds have shrunk. And I would say now it's about a 3 to 1 against us, but we're getting closer to even odds and then maybe even victory. So all we have to do is expose the conspiracy. No conspiracy can exist with the light of truth shed upon it. That's what we do in the Birch Society, and we've always done, and we'll continue to do. And I'm very happy to have a chance to be able to be a part of doing some writing and speaking and everything else to make that awareness come true, so that people can save our freedom from a deliberate end. I believe that there are Illuminati operatives in the United States today. I don't know who exactly they are. I can suspect some. Some of them came out of the Skull and Bones Society at Yale. Some of them came out of a similar university organization at Harvard and other places. And these people are determined to destroy what is known as a free America. We're not going to have a country anymore.
And that is becoming more and more obvious, and more people are getting involved. And of course, we invite all our viewers not only to subscribe to the New American Magazine if you're not already doing so, but to become involved in the freedom movement through the John Birch Society. And also, of course, Jack, we encourage everybody to read your cover story article, Imposing the New World Order, in the August 15 issue of the New American Magazine. And to do that, click on the link in the description, and you'll be able to see a copy of Jack's article. Jack, thank you so much for joining the program.
My pleasure. Let's do it again sometime.
Great. Thank you.